They say the only things certain in life are death and taxes. Nobody ever warned me about the third one, the Homeowners Association. My name's Jake McAllister. I'm 47, ex-Marine, third-generation Texan, and owner of 640 acres of prime hill country ranch land that's been in my family since Sam Houston was still riding a horse. My spread sits just outside a fancy gated community called Silver Creek Estates, the kind of place where McMansions sprout like mushrooms after rain and every driveway has a Tesla and a Range Rover having a staring contest. I never joined their HOA. My land was grandfathered in before the developers even broke ground. My deed says unrestricted agricultural use in big bold letters. I raise longhorns, train cutting horses, shoot rattlesnakes, and burn brush piles the size of a pickup truck whenever I damn well please. That's the deal. That was always the deal. Until Karen arrived. Her real name was Kimberly Wentworth Price, president of the Silver Creek Estates HOA board, but everyone just called her the Karen behind her back, and sometimes to her face when folks had enough whiskey in them. She rolled up to my gate one Tuesday morning in a gleaming white Escalade with vanity plates that read HOA Queen. Two other women were crammed in with her. Vice President, Linda, the one who carried the clipboard like it was the Ten Commandments, and Treasurer Brenda, who filmed everything on her phone like she was waiting for her big break on TikTok. I was out by the barn fixing a fence when I heard the honking. I walked over slow, wiping sweat off my forehead with a red bandana. The second I got close, Karen rolled down her window and started shrieking like I'd personally insulted her bloodline. Mr. McAllister, do you have any idea how many violations you're currently committing? This is unacceptable. I leaned on the gatepost and squinted at her. Morning to you too, ma'am. What seems to be the problem? She thrust a stack of neon pink papers at me like they were on fire. Problem? Your entire property is the problem. Unpermitted structures, livestock within visible distance of the community, excessive noise, open burning, unauthorized commercial activity, and, she paused for dramatic effect, that disgusting pile of manure within 500 feet of the property line. I glanced over my shoulder at the half-acre compost pile I use for the garden. Flies were having a field day. I smiled. That pile's been there since 1892, Karen. It's older than the state of Oklahoma. It's Kimberly, she snapped. And I don't care if it was here when Moses parted the Red Sea. You are in violation of Section 7.4, doth both love the Silver Creek Estates covenants, conditions and restrictions. You have 14 days to remove all livestock, dismantle that eyesore of a barn, and cease all agricultural activity, or we will impose fines of $500 per day per violation. I scratched my chin.
Thing is, ma'am, I'm not in Silver Creek Estates. My deed predates your little country club by about 140 years. Y'all don't have jurisdiction here.
Her face turned the color of a ripe tomato. Linda started frantically flipping pages in her binder. Brenda zoomed her phone in on my face like this was going to be the next viral confrontation video.
That's where you're wrong, Karen hissed. In 2023, the board annexed the surrounding properties under Texas Property Code Chapter 204. You are now part of the association, whether you like it or not. We've already filed the paperwork with the county.
I laughed so hard a horse in the corral spooked. Lady, you can't just annex my ranch like it's the Sudetenland. You need my signature for that. We have eminent domain authority through the Neighborhood Improvement Clause. Hey, she screamed. That's when I stopped laughing. I went inside, called my lawyer, Buddy Ray Cowan, the meanest son of a bitch in 4 counties when it comes to property rights. Buddy listened for about 30 seconds, then started cussing in 3 languages, one of them probably ancient Sumerian. Jake, he finally said, these people are full of shit, but they've got deep pockets and a law firm that bills by the sneer. They're gonna bury you in paperwork until you either pay or sell. I'll file an injunction, but it'll take months. In the meantime, do not touch them, do not threaten them, and whatever you do, do not let them on your property without a court order. I hung up and stared out the window at my granddaddy's barn. No way in hell was I letting some suburban wine moms take my land. The fines started the next day. $500, then $1,000, then $2,500. Every morning a new neon pink notice taped to my gate. They sent certified letters. They called the sheriff, who laughed in their face. They put up a Facebook page called Clean Up the McAllister Eyesore. Someone flew a drone over my pasture, taking pictures of my cows like they were war criminals. I ignored it all, kept working, kept living. Then came the tow trucks. I was in Austin picking up a new cutting horse when I got the call from my ranch hand, Miguel. Jefe, they're here with 3 tow trucks and a sheriff's deputy. They say they're repossessing your equipment for unpaid fines as Mike. I floored my F-350 all 90 miles home doing 110 on the back roads. When I screeched through the gate, there were 3 flatbeds hooked up to my tractors. Karen stood in the middle of my driveway in a leopard print blazer, arms crossed, smirking like she just won the lottery. The deputy looked embarrassed to be there. Jake, he said, tipping his hat, I'm real sorry about this, but they've got some kind of emergency court order from Judge Hargrove. I looked at the paper. Sure enough, some ex parte bullshit signed at 8:03 a.m. that morning. Karen must have had the judge on speed dial. I felt the red creep up my neck. Karen stepped forward, voice dripping honey. Mr. McAllister, if you'll just sign the compliance agreement, we can stop all this unpleasantness. All we're asking is that you remove the livestock and bring your property up to community standards. It's for the children. Some doubts when I noticed the news van parked down the road. Brenda was live streaming again. This was planned. They wanted me to explode on camera. I took a deep breath, smiled real big, and said loud enough for every microphone to hear. Mom, you're trespassing on private property. You have 10 seconds to get these trucks off my land before I consider this theft. Karen laughed. You can't threaten us. We have a court order. The deputy shifted uncomfortably. Technically, Jake, until the judge says otherwise. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and started walking toward the lead tow truck driver. Sir, are you aware you're stealing my property under a fraudulent court order? The driver looked at Karen, then at me, then at the longhorn bull in the pasture who was pawing the ground and snorting. I'm just doing my job, man. I kept walking until I was standing between my John Deere and the truck. Karen went ballistic, started screaming about calling the governor, about lawsuits, about how I was a danger to the community. The deputy tried to calm things down, but it was too late. That night, the story blew up. Texas rancher defends land from HOA tyranny. I was on every channel from Dallas to San Antonio. The internet took my side hard. Stand with Jake started trending. Gun forums, prepper groups, libertarian pages, everybody was sending me ammo and beer money on Venmo. But Karen wasn't done. 2 weeks later, the fines hit $187,000. They put a lien on my ranch. The bank started calling. My wife, Sarah, was crying herself to sleep. My kids were getting bullied at school for being those redneck people on TV. Buddy Ray said we were winning in court, but it would take time. Years, maybe. I sat on the porch one night with a bottle of Maker's Mark and my granddaddy's Remington 870 leaning against the railing, the one he carried through Normandy. I stared at the stars and made a promise. They wanted war? Fine. But they were about to find out what happens when you bring a clipboard to a shotgun fight. It was a Saturday morning in late October. The air smelled like cedar and gun oil. I was up before dawn, drinking coffee black as tar, watching the sun come up over my pastures like it had every day for the last 100 years. At 7:12 a.m. exactly, I heard the rumble. A whole convoy coming down the county road. 2 white HOA Suburbans, a flatbed with a Bobcat skid steer, a pickup pulling a stock trailer, and, God help me, a brand new sheriff's cruiser bringing up the rear. Karen was riding shotgun in the lead vehicle, wearing tactical-looking sunglasses and what looked suspiciously like a bulletproof vest under her blazer. They had another court order. This one said immediate enforcement authorized. They were here to remove my cattle themselves and start abatement procedures. I watched them turn into my driveway like an invading army. Miguel and the 2 other hands were already on horseback in the north pasture. I'd sent them out at 5 a.m. with instructions. If things go south, open every gate, and let the herd loose into the back 400. My longhorns aren't pets. They're half wild. One of them still has horns 6 feet tip to tip. I walked inside, kissed Sarah, who was watching from the window, white as a sheet, and told her to lock the doors and call Buddy Ray. Then I grabbed old Betsy, the 12-gauge pump that's been in the family since Truman was president, and I walked out to meet them. There were 12 people in total: Karen, Linda, Brenda, still filming, 3 landscapers in matching polo shirts, 2 animal control officers from the city, a guy with a chainsaw, and 3 deputies who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else on earth. Karen stepped out first and started reading from a clipboard like she was Moses on the mountain. By order of the 4th and 19th District Court, we are seizing all livestock and commencing immediate demolition of non-compliant structures. I stood on the porch in jeans and boots, shotgun, resting casual across my forearm, safety off. "Y'all are making a real big mistake," I called out. One of the deputies, young kid, named Ramirez, put his hand on his holster and took a step forward. "Sir, lower the weapon. This is a lawful court order." I didn't move. "Son, you see that no trespassing sign you just drove past? The one with the bullet holes in it? That wasn't decorative." Karen laughed, high and brittle. "He's bluffing. Everyone knows he's just a washed-up cowboy playing tough for the cameras." Brenda zoomed in. The red light was blinking. The sound echoed across the ranch like God clearing his throat. Every single person froze. The longhorn bull in the corral chose that exact moment to let out a bellow that rattled windows. The horses started whinnying. Somewhere in the distance, coyotes started howling like it was the end of days. Karen's face went from red to white in about half a second.
"Shoot him if he moves,"
she shrieked at the deputies. Ramirez looked sick. "Ma'am, we're here for civil enforcement. He hasn't threatened anyone." I took one step down off the porch.
"Last chance! Get off my land!"
The guy with the chainsaw dropped it like it was hot and started backing toward his truck. One of the animal control officers whispered, "That's a goddamn 12-gauge. Karen wasn't done. She pulled out her phone and started screaming about terrorism and calling the FBI. I took another step. Then another. The deputies started backing up. Slowly, hands away from their guns.
When realized she was suddenly very alone in the front.
Stay where you are!
She screeched, but her voice cracked. I kept walking. Slow, deliberate, shotgun pointed at the ground. But everybody knew one twitch and it was coming up. 20 yards. 10. Karen dropped the clipboard. Her bulletproof vest suddenly didn't feel so bulletproof. She turned and ran. Mouth power walked. Full on sprinted, like she was trying out for the Olympics. Her heels went flying. The tactical sunglasses went airborne. She tripped, face planted in the gravel, scrambled up, and kept going. The rest followed like a stampede in reverse. Doors slammed, engines roared, tires spun gravel 50 feet in the air. I stood in the middle of my driveway and watched $400,000 worth of SUVs disappear down the road doing 80 in a 30 zone. One deputy, Ramirez, stayed behind just long enough to yell out his window.
"Judge is going to revoke that order by noon, Mr. McAllister. You got the whole damn internet on your side."
Then he floored it to catch up. I lowered the shotgun and laughed until my ribs hurt. By lunchtime, the video was everywhere. Brenda had accidentally live-streamed the whole thing from Karen's phone when she dropped it. Title: HOA President Flees Texas Rancher in Terror. 22 million views in the first 24 hours. The governor called personally. The Attorney General opened an investigation into abusive HOA practices. Death threats started pouring in to Karen. She resigned the next day, moved to Colorado, and apparently now lives in a van down by the river selling essential oils. The judge threw out every fine, dissolved the annexation, and ordered the HOA to pay my legal fees, plus $250,000 in damages. I used the money to buy the biggest, meanest longhorn bull in the state. Named him Karen. He still guards the front gate. And every time some new suburbanite drives by a little too slow, Miguel and I sit on the porch with sweet tea and shotguns across our laps, just in case history tries to repeat itself. Because out here we don't call the cops when someone invades our home.
The shotgun. Let's feed him, right?